Hi, and welcome to my whiskey den, channel 46.5, where we're not watered down, but we're not going to slap you in the face either. I'm your host, Glen. Patrick isn't here because he said he was busy this week. So, I'm here with you. We're going to be reviewing my very first whiskey on this channel. It is Dancing Goat's Limousin Rye. Come check it out with me. Dancing Goat is located in Cambridge, Wisconsin, which is southwest of Madison and in between Madison and Milwaukee. The company was founded by Tom Moss, whose whole family has a really long and kind of many-storied tradition. His father, Dwayne Moss, I'd like to call him Grandpa Moss in this story, you'll see why that happens, was in the distilling spirits industry for over 50 years. And then his son Tom, the one that helped co-found Dancing Goat, who's also the CEO of Agave Loco, and he himself created Rum Shada back in 2008. So he does have some legs under him in his own right for that. He has been in the business of distilling spirits for over 40 years. And then it brings us down to his son Nick, who was a YouTube promoter for Rum Shada, or mixologist for Rum Shada, and here he is doing some of the distilling, which is really unique because even in some of their opening runs that they're doing when they're trying things here, they've only really released the Limousin Rye. But he has already been playing with the Hopi Blue corn and the BBC, the Bloody Butcher corn, some different red type heirlooms. And some of the early stages of their development for stuff that's coming down the line. So that is really exciting, that if you've already started something, your first release, you're looking to really play with some of the other ones. And when this distillery was opened, they were not planning on being a small-time distillate. They wanted to be a large factor in the liquor distribution sector. So their plan is to be big in about 15 years. And they did that by building their first section here that was 21,000 square feet. And it has in there a pot still that is 250 gallons, and then I believe a 70-foot column still. So what they have on what they call their R&D side of things is almost as big as some micro distilleries, what they already have. But they're planning for expansion and growth. And what I mean by that is, I know just recently they got the okay to add on a 17,000 foot expansion onto the current facility. And they've only really been open for like 2 or 3 years. So adding on to something like that is a big step right away. And it shows that you have vision and a plan for the future, which makes me excited about it. I'm hoping it's a barrel room, but it could be used for anything. More recently, Travis Hayes has joined them, bringing with him what he was producing, his apple pie, his cherry pie, and his cow pie, over to the production line at Dancing Goat. He's become a third partner. Now, cow pie, you may sound a little hesitant about that. Kind of think Blind Russian-y idea for something kind of along those lines. Apple pie and cherry pie, that's pretty standard. Everyone has an idea what that is. They also added Chris Pyles onto their distilling team. He came over from Wyoming, and what I found interesting is that how he was saying it is difficult to grow things here in the season comparatively to other places, but coming from Wyoming, it was much more difficult there, in which you would totally agree because your seasons are shortened, even tighter, and your cold winters last even longer. So getting someone from that climate who was able to make things work there and giving them a little bit more elongated seasons and more stuff to play with, I thought was a really, really neat addition to the team with the knowledge that he brings on. So now let's get into tasting this. That is really kind of bright to medium on the nose. A little, you smell the alcohol in it a little bit. Very, very light. Very, very background. It's not playing a factor as far as I'm concerned at all in this one, but you smell it faintly. You do get the rye, but it is like a light, approachable rye, where some of the ryes on the nose can be very aggressive and kind of almost come after you in your senses. Yeah, this seems very well balanced. Cinnamon, a little bit of nutmeg or clove, but very lightly on it. And almost a citrus note up front. I'm gonna call it an orange. I was gonna say like a light orange scent at kind of the very beginning of this. So oh, that is very nice. Alcohol burn, almost non-existent. A light little part, but you can mix that up with some of the little rye spice when it kicks up on the second half. Very tame to medium. Once again, kind of on the smell scale, it didn't really jump up too far and get too bitey with the rye. I really like that because I am typically not the biggest fan of rye. Oh yeah, and that finish is nice. It's oaky, woody, but medium. A lot of this stuff is medium. That's a little bit richer on the ending. The last like third, everything gets a little bit richer than what it is. This is really nice and well balanced. And they get that way because they age the whiskey in vintage oak barrels, so already used bourbon barrels. Then they add in some French oak staves and age that for about 3 years. After that, they take it and put it in a French Limousin oak barrel, which is part of their Solera bottling system. So if you know what Solera is, they never really kind of fully empty what's in there. They're taking some out and letting some age and bringing in some newer stuff, and it rotates kind of in and out like that. So you're never really emptying a full barrel with what it is. This is where I think they're getting the balance. And the Limousin oak is supposed to be some of the rarest oak in the world because it only comes from one forest in France. And you can kind of tell in the flavor of it where I was saying that the wood is kind of medium boldness on this. The tannins are still there. The oils are still there because it sticks around. But that has to be the Limousin oak being kind of a lighter flavor than some of the darker, rich kind of southern oak variety that you get in most bourbons and a lot of other whiskeys. Yeah, kind of baking spices, a little mixed in there with a little bit of cinnamon, but like the baking cinnamon, because I hate like aftershock cinnamon. That is awful, but this is more like the baking cinnamon where it's a little bit warmer, earthier. This is very, very nice. I'm very excited to see what else they're going to be putting out here recently. And Tom said hopefully later this year that they might be putting out one of their next kind of blends that they're working on because they're working on building the category of what they have there and filling barrels. And I could only imagine it sounded like all the imagination that they started with even a couple years ago on their goals, where they are on the path. So congratulations to everyone at Dancing Goat. This was lovely. Thank you very much. We just have a couple thank yous to put out into the world before I let you guys go this week. First off, we got to say thanks to Vito and Brad and Josh over at Ask Strength for having me on their 1,000 subscriber stupendous stream, and it was absolutely stupendous. It went from noon into the evening where it switched over to an after-hours show, which was pretty funny and I enjoyed watching. So we want to thank them and Gretchen and Christina and Lance and Graham and everyone who put in work on that, and Jeremy Sims, because it was a really fun show that went on for a long time. Happy to be a part of it. Then I also have to thank the Whiskey Crusaders that had Pat on with Ed on Monday evening. We'll link to that up here. They were talking about Wisconsin whiskeys with the Whiskey Crusaders. And Pat apologizes for not remembering Will's name at one point in the middle of that. I know he felt like an ass. Then we want to thank Ed, because guess what? We're going to be going on his show this coming Tuesday. We're going to be talking about that same set of samples that we sent out to the Whiskey Mariachi and Mitch Weddle. He's going to be reviewing with us, and in a couple weeks, hopefully we'll be doing that with Cast Strength to get everyone's different opinions on it. Then, the last thing I gotta say thanks for is for everyone watching. We recently passed 50 subscribers. Not a big deal for everyone else. If I had one of those things that shot confetti into there, I'd probably be popping it now. But guess what? Glen doesn't have one of those, but he does have a glass of whiskey. So, remember, if you like what you see here, hit the like button, subscribe, do the things you need to do to come back the next time. Because remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of the whiskey. Cheers. You know, his idea of busy is the microphone didn't show up till Friday afternoon. And he just didn't want to do any work.